This conference will now be recorded.
Hello, folks. I'd like to welcome everybody to the NSA webinar, professional series number 57. This particular webinar is on no-code automation CRM to help streamline sales, and I appreciate you guys attending. A couple quick housekeeping items I'd like to mention. If you do have questions during the session, I would ask that you please enter them into the chat box. I see everybody's muted, so thank you for that. Please stay muted during the session. We will have a Q&A towards the end. And we also have a very special offer, very generous offer from our friends at Techosystems who will be presenting today. So make sure you stick around through the webinar for that as well. So my name is Brian Weaver, and I am the VP of Sales here at NSA. And there's my contact information that's there. And a little bit about our company for those that may not be aware. We've been around the distribution market since 1984. We focus 100% in the distribution space. So, we always work with partners that, for the most part, do the same as well. And we're lucky enough with the vendor we have on today that that's their focus also. And we welcome all of you guys to attend. And I'd like to go ahead and now introduce our speaker. So our speaker today is Scott Wolfe. And Scott is the Director of Sales and Operations at Techosystems. And I'd like to just mention, I don't want to steal Scott's thunder, but Scott has been in this space for a very long time, understands distribution extremely well. And with that, Scott, I'll pass it to you.
Awesome. Appreciate it. Thank you very much, Brian. Yeah, thanks everybody for joining. My name is Scott Wolfe. I'm the Director of Sales here at Techosystems. I have been in the distribution space for about 13 years, been in the CRM space for about 16 years. I'm excited today to walk you guys through a presentation of what is called Creatio CRM. Before joining Techosystems, I was actually a longtime Infor employee, which is where I met Mary and Brian and most of the NSA folks. I was a CRM specialist at Infor, concentrating in distribution. So I was working with, at that point, Infor CRM. And so if anybody that's on here is using that or familiar with that, glad to have some Q&A about differentiators. But yeah, long time experience in distribution and excited today to walk you through the system. So in the next 30 or 40 minutes, my goal is, of course, to introduce myself in Techosystems, and Creatio CRM is the name of the product. We want to talk a little bit about no code and really why that matters for distribution. We're going to talk about having a centralized system, knowing with some of the distributors we work with, they have disparate systems for sales. Maybe they're running a different marketing or service tool. There's no integration into CSD or SX. So we'll talk about the benefit of having a centralized system. Of course, the bulk of this is going to be a CRM presentation. And as Brian alluded to, please hang on at the end. I hope to have a pretty decent offer to walk you guys through if anybody's interested in taking me up on that. So hopefully we can get through that in the next 30, 40 minutes. So this might be the first time some of you folks have heard of Techosystems or Creatio. I thought it might behoove us for just a few minutes to talk about who we are and how we're different from some of the other competitors. So much like NSA is your guys' representative for Infor, Techosystems, we are a representative of Creatio, the product. We have been around for actually about 25 years now. We are a CRM through and through organization. We're over 300 CRM implementations, concentrating on integrations like SX and CSD. So I'm going to be showing that throughout the presentation today, is talking about the value of living in CRM and then possibly pulling in orders and invoices and products from CSD into a CRM for your sales or marketing teams. One of the things we try to pride ourselves on is building great solutions via design as your consultant. So if this is the route anybody decides to go, we would be there to help stand this up for you folks and build the blueprints of the house for you. So very quickly about Creatio, as some folks here have been evaluating CRM potentially or are familiar with the CRM acronym, how are we different from Infor CRM or Salesforce.com or some of the others? I think it's important to differentiate and talk about that because really we're all going to have leads and accounts and contacts. Going and looking at a CRM and saying, well, I wanted to manage my activities, we're all going to have that. And really what puts us different than some of the others, we love our alphabet soup here, is the BPM engine. And what that stands for is the Business Process Management Engine. Think of the if-then statements that you folks might have as part of your business process. If a lead comes in and it's in Texas, auto route that to Scott. If that lead comes in and it's in Colorado, route it to Mary. If an opportunity is created and it's over $100,000, send an email to Brian for approval. If a quote hasn't been touched in 14 days, create an activity for me to follow up. All of those if-then scenarios to help streamline and automate that process is drag and drop. Right? So we use this BPM engine throughout that I will show in the demo here to help remove the mandatory and manual work that salespeople have to do. We know sometimes CRM can be a 4-letter word. We want to make sure that your salespeople are using it and they're getting value. So we want to remove that work for them for manually creating activities, for example. And it's all built on what Creatio calls a no-code platform. And that's one of the things here we're talking about is, what does that even mean? What does no-code mean? And really what it is it's the ability to make changes. We're very familiar in distribution, and we've got a stock distribution plugin here, but all of y'all are different from each other. You all have your own unique sauce. You all have your own things that make you different from your competitors. The ability to tweak the system can be done in minutes. I'll show it in a little bit with a drag and drop editor. And then even as your business changes, a year from now, maybe one of you guys will acquire another company and they've got different processes. The ability to configure the system in these if-then statements is done in a very easy drag and drop editor. And that matters because you guys can make changes without having to go to IT, wait 2 weeks for someone to add that field for you or change that lookup value. It can be done in minutes, by a power admin, so the system can be not have to be bogged down by IT resources. And it's all built on what Creatio will call as a unified CRM. And really all that means is that you have sales, service, marketing, inside sales, outside sales. You're all, in theory, hopefully, talking to the same customers. So you have the ability to have one centralized view into your relationship with your accounts and customers, right? So you have the ability you don't have to go to inside sales and say, hey, did you send them that quote? What was the last thing you said to them? I don't need to reach to marketing and say, hey, did you send that email blast yet? Have any of my contacts positively responded to your marketing efforts? You're all in one system, so everybody can see everything. So that being said, I'm going to jump up into software. I'm going to do one quick page refresh, and we're going to go and look into Creatio, the software. All right. So knowing that this might be the first time that some of the folks here watching this recording or that are here are seeing the software, I thought it might make sense to just spend a minute and we'll talk about some basic navigation. How do we get around? And so there is this black bar on the left, which is where we have our objects that the sales users, service user, marketing users are going to have. So for today, I'll try to do some pinching and zooming. I have an NSA user, but we have different workplaces. So I wanted to stress this because depending on my role or permission, I can see very, very different things. So in the sales workplace or as a salesperson, I might care about my tasks, my leads, my accounts and contacts and opportunities. With that pull from CSD or SX, I have invoices and orders. I can bring in products. So we're reading product and inventory availability and warehouse availability of those products from CSD. So I have all these objects that I can navigate to if I'm a sales user. If I'm a marketer and I log into the CRM, I have a completely different view, right? I don't care necessarily about opportunities and orders. I care about bulk email blasts and email campaigns and managing events, right? And then you see that I have my own report that I have as a marketer. So when I come in, I want to take a look at what are my leads by sources. So maybe I'm running Facebook ads or I'm running some LinkedIn campaigns. I want to go drill into that. And I want to say, go give me the data. So here are those 17 leads that came from that Facebook event. Or I want to look at leads by region. You're doing these marketing events, and I want to take a look at, looks like we're having a lot of success in California and New York and Colorado. Apparently, we've got somebody over in Glasgow. Some international folks are coming in and hitting our website. So you can get these reports depending on your role or permission. Same with service. We have some Infor customers who are using CRM to manage case management, problem resolution, freight and warranty claims. So think of the call center. Customer calls in and says, "Hey, I see that I got a shipment. There's damaged product." We can manage those cases and then push return or warranty or freight orders back into Infor, right? So think of a help desk. They can see cases with customer satisfaction and all of that here. But then we create custom workplaces. So for today, we're going to be concentrating on the NSA user, and we'll be talking about these different objects. So let's talk about reporting. You've seen a couple dashboards already. The CRM will aggregate and push data out on both a macro and micro level. By that, I mean, if I'm an executive, I want to take a look potentially at all leads in the system. I want to see every lead across the sources, leads by region, leads created by month, so I can get that big picture and then start drilling into these and see, okay, we've created 56 leads in January, 22 here in February. Let's display the data, and I can now export this to Excel if you maybe wanted to run some reports. Or for maybe the sales folks in the room, I want to take a look at opportunity data, leads and opportunities by month, win-loss ratios, or we can bring in that CSD data here where I'm looking at now orders by status, orders by owner. In a good demo environment, I've always got all the orders because I'm selling a lot. I can look at order amount by month, top orders that are open, so we can start giving your team that broad view, without having to jump between systems. But maybe I want to look at like a micro view, right? Like we talked about, that's broad, that's the macro, but I want to look at my world. I don't care about Bob or Steve's world. I'm a sales individual contributor, so I want to take a look at maybe for my customers, who are my top 5 unpaid invoices. What is my current month invoices by status? So I can see for the month coming in against my accounts, most of my customers are paid, but I've got a couple unpaid invoices that maybe I need to follow up on. I want to take a look at my opportunities set to close this month, my overdue task. Simply the point of this is to give your users a single pane of glass that they can come back from lunch, wake up in the morning with a cup of coffee, and they have the ability to come in here and see what's my world. Do I need to follow up on some of these past due activities? Hopefully this user doesn't have this many past due activities, but you can go and see the work that person has to do. So flexible reporting throughout. We just need to determine what type of report you would want to see, and then we can do full export into any of these. And I'll show really quick in the no code editor. If I want to edit, for example, the top 5 opportunities set to close, all I have to do is double click on this. It's going to open up the back end, and I'll be able to edit that view. So here is the display options, for example, for that list view. If I want to say, well, I want to look at the ones that are set to close, and I want it to only be when the month is current month, I can modify any of those in real time if we have permissions. So you have the ability to modify these things. All right. So let's talk for just a second about leads. So some of the distributors we work with don't use leads. Some do. And I'll explain kind of what we have and how it might work. Is maybe you go to a trade show and you get 100 people that used to be putting a business card in the fishbowl, and anymore it's scanning badges. But you get that Excel spreadsheet of 100 people that hit your booth. You don't know necessarily of those folks who's going to really want to do business with you. So we have the ability to import to leads. So we can do bulk imports. So using actions, I can take that spreadsheet, do an easy import. We can import from your website, like a contact me, request more info. But then I have that lead, and then I want to work it. So we can do, using that BPM engine, I can do auto routing of leads. I kind of alluded to that in my examples a few minutes ago. If the lead is in a certain state, auto route to someone. If the lead has a different customer need, like maybe for your guys' products, if you're HVAC or you're a Jansan, maybe you have different product categories and the customer's interested in a certain product category, then we can do auto routing. But really what you guys are going to do is you're going to put in your notes, spoke with this client, right? The guy came from the trade show, tried calling him. Here are my notes as I'm trying to follow up with this client, right? You're going to go in and you're going to put in your notes about this lead, and then you want to set yourself a reminder. This is CRM 101, scheduling yourself an activity. Don't forget to follow up with Ronald. Call Ronald back about website visit. I'm making something up, and all I need to do is schedule it for tomorrow and hit save. And now I have a call tomorrow on 2/16 to call Ronald and follow up on the website visit. Yeah. And then with the BPM engine, all I would need to do here is just click convert, and this would create Ronald as a new contact. It would create a new account, and it would automatically create me a new opportunity. So the idea here is you would go, and sometimes they would be disqualified. Like you're going to get that lead, 100 people that come to your booth. It's potential that a bulk of those folks will never do business with you. So you can just disqualify those leads, or you can click qualify, no problem. I'm going to use the global search up here to the left of the NSA logo. Think of this as a Google-esque search. So we have the ability here to go and query the CRM and find records. Perhaps I'm on the call with a client, or I'm putting together a contract, the phone rings, and it's Bob at Bob's Hardware. Well, cool. I want to go find that person or that account. I can use this global search, and it's going to go query and find everything that it knows is associated with Alpha. So I can see here all the accounts. So we've got some parent-child relationships that we'll talk about in just a minute. I can see all the cases if we're using service. I can see the invoices. So it's Bob's at Bob's Hardware. He says, yeah, calling about invoice number 102. I can just click here, and now I'm on that invoice that was in CSD, brought into CRM, and I can see what products are on there. Do we have any approvals for it? What was the amount? So I can start understanding this invoice. Or same thing with orders, right? Customers calling about order number 32. Awesome. Here's the order. Here's the products. When's it set to go for delivery? I have the ability to see all that right here. But let's drill into the actual account itself. This is probably the most important screen in a CRM. Is the guts of a CRM is your relationship with your customers. So I'm on an account. So we started kind of quickly down at leads, and we have the ability to manage leads. Those leads get converted to accounts. So we have things like logos and also known as, but we want to categorize accounts, right? Great. Who are they? Hopefully you have lots and lots of customers, but maybe we're tracking vendors and suppliers and other types of accounts. We have the same action panel at the top. So if I want to put in notes about this account, if I want to schedule an activity for me to call this account, I can do that. Basic CRM stuff like what's their website and phone number. But I'll draw your attention here to some of these tabs and now kind of below the page break. And so the first thing is we're tracking some basic segmentation. How many employees do they have? And all those things that a salesperson might want to use for segmentation. Like I'm running a report, give me a list of all of my accounts that are over 500 employees that have a certain number of people, and whatever. You can run those types of segmentations. And one of the things that are specifically our distributors manage is, of course, the ship tos, build tos, and ship to locations. So I wanted to call this out is that out of the box, it has a kind of a more flat address where it's what's the customer and what are their one to many addresses. Well, we know that sometimes orders and invoices and different customers, you could have one parent account with 30 different ship tos. We actually manage that as a parent-child relationship. So you would have the parent account of Bob's Building Materials, and he might have 30 accounts below it. We track those as separate accounts, and then all of the orders and invoices and customers roll up to the parent. So you would have separate accounts, physical accounts, and they would be connected in a parent-child type relationship. And the benefit of that then, when I move into the ERP info, is I can see here are the year-to-date sales, prior year-to-date sales. I can see the orders and invoices by status, by amount, whatever data I want to expose here specifically for Alpha. So think of that sales rep. I'm about to call Alpha, or I'm sitting in the customer's parking lot on mobile, and I want to go see, do I have any past due invoices? Did my inside sales rep potentially place an order for them that I didn't know about? I can see all that here. And if I click into the history tab here, you'll see some of these have this little tree icon. This is that parent-child where I can say, okay, here's all the documents that we have, or better yet, the opportunities for this account. But if I click this tree, you'll see now it went down a level, and I'm saying give me all of the opportunities, not just for the parent, but all the opportunities for the sub ship tos that are below. So the power here is I can say give me all the orders for the parent, or give me all the orders to sum up and roll up for all the sub locations below it. So you'll see by clicking this, there's 4 for Alpha, or 8 or 10 here for Alpha and the subs. So coming back here, I want to just make sure everybody understands this, that we have the ability to have all your CRM, phone calls, notes, emails against your account, but we're also now bringing in all of that financial information here. So I can see if I'm doing any kind of trending analysis, I probably need to do some selling. Looks like we sold $5.5 million to this account last year. Current year to date, we got 1.4. Definitely need to pick up the pace and start selling a little bit more. But going to that unified CRM, if you remember the PowerPoint was the little circle, I think. This is the view where we can now have your entire organization talking to this account. So my inside sales team, my outside sales team, my customer service, my marketing, my sales management, if they're emailing, calling, putting in notes against Alpha Business, I can have it here in a date stamped chronological view of my organization's relationship with Alpha Business. So here's an email from me to Alex Wilson, and here's an email from like our marketing team to Alex Wilson. Here are activities, here are invoices, here are notes, right? So I can see all of that communication. So I don't have to put a Slack message or a Teams message to my internal team. I can just come here, and if they're using CRM properly, I can get that information. Now, there might be some folks here thinking, well, if this is a key account, I've got years and years of information and tons of communication. We can use these filters, which are right here, and I can say, you know, I know a month ago I spoke with that client about XYZ. The CRM will go find that email, and here in the body of this email from William to Alex, my colleague William to Alex, in the body of this email, they mention XYZ. Or I can say, what have we done with this client? And I can use these date filters. I can say, what have we done with them this month? Think of like a sales forecast meeting. Maybe you're a sales manager and you want to pull up your reps' key accounts because it's their A accounts, and you say, what the heck are you doing with this account? I can see that I put in some notes about it. Here's some additional emails that I've had with this account this month. Or I can say, I don't care about Bob's communication with this account. I only care about mine, and it filters out everyone else's communication, and it only brings in mine using these filters. So this is that ability for you guys to see holistically what's happening with this account. So I'm going to move down here, and we're going to actually kill this one, and we're going to look at an opportunity. So this is one of the places I want to talk about the no code and why no code matters. This is probably one of the most configured screens. When we get a new distribution customer, everybody manages their opportunities differently. Everybody manages their opportunity products differently. They're discounting. And even at the top, you'll see we have these chevron, this flow. This would be like your sales process. So again, you could have a different sales process based on your industry or the type. So if it's a direct sale potentially or a partner sale, maybe I have different steps and stages across the top because one is a simple or a complex process. So for the first time here, I'm going to actually open up the back end of this, and we're going to open up the page editor, and I'm going to show that no code designer. So how easy it is to configure this page or add new content to the page. So as this is loading, you'll see here we've got our tabs across the top. We've got the left-hand pane, which is this stuff here, and all the tabs. So we have opportunity details, products, timeline, all of those. So if I want to move things around, if I want type down below, and I want to bring owner over here, and I want to put division down here, I can move the existing page elements on the page. I can take things that are already in the system, but maybe not on page, like maybe I want to know who's the last person to modify these things, who modified it, and when it was modified. Now all I need to do is hit section wizard and one more save, and on page I would have modified by and modify out. Or maybe I want to create a whole new field, right? I can come up here and I can say, great, let's go create a new checkbox on page. And I want to name it key account, yes or no. So all I need to do is wait for this to load, and then I'm going to type in key account, yes or no. I can make it mandatory, so we'll call this key account, and I need to name it USR key account. So again, make it mandatory. I can put all kinds of stuff. Now I'll have, oh, if I can spell correctly, C-O-U-N-T, key account. And if I hit save and save, I would have a new checkbox, yes, no. Maybe I want to track and run reports on who are my key accounts here. So that's the editor, very easy. We can do business rules like if-thens. If, okay, there was one on the page here. If it is a direct sale, I don't want to see the partner field, but if it's partner, well then expose who the partner is. So we can do all kinds of show hide using this pretty simple business rules if-then editor. But maybe I want to configure these steps and stages. So these are called the cases. So maybe I want to change the flow of my sales process. My sales process is different from your sales process, and it doesn't make sense to have this stock one of qualification, presentation, proposal. So I'm going to go modify this one really quick. And in this is where we can do a lot of that business process automation. So let's say it's the opportunity is created and it's in qualification stage. And when I move it to presentation and I'm a user and I just click this presentation button, maybe I want something to happen. And we want to, that's proposal, I want to call the client. I want a task, which is this blue thing. I want to automatically create a task that when somebody moves it from qualification presentation, automatically create a task, and I want it to happen immediately for that user to call the client. But in this, I can build approvals. I can perform a task. I can send emails. So this is really popular. Like when an opportunity is marked closed won, I want an email to go out to say congrats, right? And we're going to send that email internally, and we can build a whole email saying, hey, we won a new client. Here's some information. Or when the opportunity moves from presentation to proposal, I want my boss to have an approval. So we're going to say approve this, and I'm going to build an approval inside of this. So that gets routed to my boss, and I can't move past this until then. So these are some of the ease of that no code, and really why that matters is I have the ability to kind of configure these things where I just drag this email in here, and all I need to do is say who's it from, who's it to, and then in the message templates, I need to build the body of this email, and it'll get sent out. So that was I kind of teased really quick. We went under the covers there and talked a little bit about no code, of configuring the screen, configuring the steps and stages. We talked about the opportunity. Let's talk for just a second about the products, because that is a big piece of our CSD connection is we're bringing in your product table, right? You want to generate a quote or generate an opportunity in CRM, I can go and grab your product table with product categories, and I can pull them in. So if I click into a product, I can get your price lists, right? So if you guys, we're not in any way recreating what CSD does for your pricing levels. We're going to let you guys manage that. All we're doing is going and grabbing and pulling those in. So if you guys have different price tiers, I can grab those, and then I can get availability of the different price tiers and the availability by warehouse. So this is really popular. If I want to go quote this guy, I can see your guys' multi-warehouse, how much is in stock, how much is reserved, and therefore will tell you how much is available. So if I'm on my phone or I'm trying to quote a guy on the phone from my desk, I can look up a product and then this table would be filled in. So here's the price list, and I can see by warehouse, how much do we have available in real time, and then how much is on hold, so I can start looking from warehouses how to generate these quotes. I kind of want to draw a line in the sand really quick, and we're going to talk marketing for a moment, because I think that was part of the agenda, was talking about marketing and the ability to do bulk email blasts. So think of like a MailChimp or Constant Contact or Acton or something of that nature. We have the ability for your team to send bulk emails, right? I want to send people, inviting them to an upcoming webinar. I want to invite people to a trade show that we've got going on. And then I can do that either one-off in an email, or I can do full campaigns, which I'll show in just a moment. And this is, I'm showing this in that all of this is in the same system. So if I'm a sales rep, I might not be doing the bulk emails, but I want to know, are my customers receiving emails from my marketing team, for that trade show? Are they clicking on the links? So I can come in here, and in the email, I have the ability to see, let's go to a better one actually, this one I think, and I can see the body of the email. I can see in the audience who's opening and clicking. So I'm going to want to filter this probably, or sort by, let's go clicks. So now I can see Sharice, for example, clicked on this email 4 times, opened it once. You can see who responded. And then you can get email totals and click stats. So I can see who positively responded to these emails. So I can see either for one individual email, what people are doing, or across, I can see what my indicators are of open rates, click stats, soft bounces, hard bounces. I have the ability to get those analytics. But if I want to go edit this designer, this is the no-code drag and drop for your page. I have the ability to come in here. I can edit macros. I can put in HTML. I can just drag content onto this one. I can see what it looks like, and then even get like a preview of what this is going to look like from a phone or an email before I even hit send. Right? So you can pre-build your content and then just drag it on the page. Or if I want to go build a campaign, I think it's the networking day. Let this one load. Yeah, this one is the one. So you can build these flows. Think of like a sequence of, I want to invite all my customers and partners to this networking day. So if of these 500 people, some are customers, send them the customer email. If the account type is partner, send them the partner. Then 3 days later, after they submit the registration form, potentially I might want to send them the Paul Greenberg's registration day. 10 days later, send them the reminder, all these things, right? We can build these flows. So all you need to do is hit start campaign. It's going to read these people, and then it's just going to go. And throughout, people might tell you, leave me alone, unsubscribe. So if at any point through the journey they unsubscribe, or at the end, people are just going to be part of the campaign. So Brian, that was kind of the crux. I'm looking at my agenda. I think that's what we wanted to talk about, was some of the CRM sales, no code, leads and ops, some of the concentration on, of course, the CSD and SX connection, bringing in orders and invoices and products, and then concentrate a little bit on some of the ease of changing the system around a little bit. So with that being said, I'm going to actually pass back to you, and we can maybe open up the floor to some questions.
Yeah, that sounds great, Scott. Yeah, and I just would like to say, wow, it's really very easy to tailor this to your needs. You can see that the simple drag and drop and the automation that you can build in here for marketing campaigns and stuff, really powerful things. So what I'm going to ask is that if you have some questions, maybe you got to think about them for a second, please enter them into the chat box. You can either send the chats to me privately or publicly for everyone to see. But as we're looking to go ahead and build a few questions, I would like to go through the offer that we have. So very generous offer from Techosystems. I'd like to thank them for this. So the special offer is you have a 1-month free trial of Creatio CRM, and it's going to include your data. So it'll be meaningful to you, right? And then in addition to that, you have 4 free 1-hour workshops as well. So that combination will really help you evaluate and know that this is going to get things done for you. So I would ask that you please take capabilities there and and go through that. You can also see our contact information here on the screen, and I'm going to leave this up as we go through the questions. And it looks like we're getting some that are flowing in here. So one question we have, Scott, thank you, Mary, mobile capabilities. Any limitations compared to the desktop? And talk about mobile a little bit too. And, is there a mobile application for this?
There absolutely is. Yeah, that's a great question. Absolutely. I teased it a couple times throughout with my little iPhone here in my hip. Absolutely. So in your licensing at no additional cost, you get the Creatio mobile app. It is an app that you would download on your iPad or iPhone or Android. You would go to the respective app store, download it, and you would just log in with your same credentials. There's no real limitations per se, but only it's that you're working off a 6-inch iPhone screen, not a 35-inch computer monitor. You're not going to go build a big bulk marketing email campaign from your iPhone, but you will sit in a customer's parking lot and you want to look up that account. What were my previous notes from that account? What were the open orders, right? So before I go in and shake hands, do I want to see, do we have any orders? And then once the meeting's done, some of our distributors, they struggle with like trip reports, right? They've got field reps that are out and about doing trip reports. This kind of minimizes that need because if I go back after the meeting, sit in my car or my truck, and I can talk, voice text my notes into the system. Met with Brian, here's my information about the meeting. He wants another quote. Don't forget to call him next week, Wednesday. All those notes are transcribed and I can use my mobile. That's my trip report, right? At the end of the week, I can have Creatio automatically run a report of all the activities that were done, type trip report, and all the notes that you talked into your phone are going to be there. And then it takes advantage of things that your phone do well, like mapping. So in a subsequent demo, I can show mobile in that it does mapping. I'm sitting in the customer's parking lot. I need to go get to my next customer. I can go find that account, hit one button, and it'll invoke my phone's mapping. And I can get turn-by-turn directions there to get to the next customer. So yeah, very flexible mobile. The UI is just slightly different in that I have a smaller screen. I'm working on
That's
6-inch.
great. That powerful mobile app is so important, obviously, for field reps, that are out there meeting with clients on a regular basis as well. So we are getting some more questions flowing in, and I'll go through a bunch of them here. You've talked a couple of times about stock CSD integrations. What's included in that, and can we do our own custom integrations?
Good question. Yeah, I guess I did tease that, and I could have gone a little deeper. So we do. We have what we call a stock CSD connection, and it is what we would call a unidirectional, meaning we can move bidirectional, but we always want CSD or ERP to be the master. So in our stock integration, we will pull in orders and invoices, both lines and headers, from CSD into CRM, right? And that's what I showed. So I can, as a sales rep, I don't have to jump over to CSD. I can just see, do I have any orders and invoices? We pull products with the product availability and all that in, and then we have the ability to write contacts back. That's part of our stock connection, where we can say, okay, if we want, it's not mandatory. If I'm a salesperson and I put in, Brian Weaver's information in CRM and I want him to go back to CSD, that would be part of stock. Some of our customers say, no, we don't want you to do that. I don't ever want you writing back into ERP. And then the second part of the question, I think, was in enhancements. Absolutely. We have a lot of our customers will find value in that connection, but they say, golly gee, it would be great if I could move notes, for example, from CSD in the order entry page. I want to put in notes on the order, and I want that to go into CRM. Or we have some customers that do quotes in CRM, and that quote gets pushed into a pending order in CSD. Like we do that. That's also part of like an enhancement. Definitely doable. We have utmost flexibility between the two systems.
That's great. Here's a really good question as well. I think a lot of people might have this on their mind. So how long does a normal implementation take?
Yeah, that can vary a little bit, but we generally talk weeks, not months. So with the folks here at NSA, we have like what we call one of our stock quick starts, where we will get you integrated, migrate your data. Maybe you're running Infor CRM or Salesforce and you're moving off of that. We will take your data from that, blend it in with the SX or CSD data, migrate it in, train you guys, build that connection. We're usually talking 8 to 12 weeks, Brian. We can have someone up and running pretty darn quick.
It certainly is very quick, especially compared to other CRMs that are out there these days. Another question we have is, do you suggest CRM should be used by more than just sales, such as accounting teams with credit holds or outstanding balances?
Yeah, I think sometimes CRM is misconstrued as just a sales tool. And of course it is, right? Like we talked today about quoting and activities and ops. Like it's definitely a sales tool, but there is so much more to CRM. I teased it a little bit for marketing. I talked about our other Infor customers that use it for customer service, right? My generic answer is if you have anybody in your organization that is customer facing, this is maybe a broad statement, but in theory they should be to some capacity inside CRM. If you have someone in credit and collections and AR, if they're doing financial calls and they want to, they could put those notes into CRM. It only benefits the larger organization because then I can see as a sales rep or a marketer or customer service, is my finance team playing credit and collections? So that way when I walk in and visit them, I can see, hey, just letting Joe from accounting has been reaching out. Is there someone else maybe we could be reaching to? We're not getting through to your team. So broadly speaking, yeah, it's for salespeople. It has some sales functionality, but anybody that's customer facing, in theory, could be touching CRM.
That's great. That was a great question. Here's another one. So you've mentioned no code a few times. What does that mean for distributors?
Yeah, tried to beat that one up a little bit. It's really the kind of to circle the wagon on that one. It's the ease of change, right? Because we can get you guys up and running so fast in 8 to 12 weeks, it kind of proves the fact that you're all different. You're all going to have your unique needs. We can configure your system to fit you very fast. And then in 3 months, you're going to wake up on a random Wednesday and say, golly gee, on that account page, I want to manage inventory or something on that page. I'll say, great. That is something you guys can manage. Like the end customer could have, maybe a power admin that's comfortable in that back-end editor that I showed dragging fields. You don't need to call me, right? You don't need to call my team. I don't need to put together some big statement of work for, time to configure the screen. You guys can do it. And maybe you call me and say, hey, I'm trying to do this. I'm stuck. Can you help me, right? Or, hey, I want to do this. Can you sit with me for a couple hours? Help me design it the best way. And then you guys, the end user can configure the system. It's kind of our utopia. As part of training is we want to teach you to fish, and then you go make those changes yourselves.
Oh, terrific. So that's all I have at the moment for questions. So I guess we'll just hold on, see if anyone has anything final they'd like to say. In the meantime, Scott, I guess I'll just switch it back over to you and ask if you have any final thoughts you'd like to share.
No, I really appreciate everybody's time. I'm hopeful there's be some folks that take me up on this offer. Yeah, we will spin you guys up on a 1 month, your own dedicated trial environment. We'll meet with you. We'll grab your data. We'll do data imports into accounts and contacts. Now, there is a limitation. We can only do up to 1,000, so we'll have to have a subsegment of your data in these trial environments, and then we'll hold your hand throughout. That's the point of these workshops. Is I don't want to just turn you and let you loose. We will hold your hand, walk through with you through that month. Make sure you guys are comfortable with the solution. So I just encourage you, please, as the next steps elude, reach to Brian or I. If you're interested in that, we'd be glad to take you up on that offer.
Yeah, well, thank you, Scott. That's a tremendous offer. I would like to remind folks that we did record the session today, and within 24 hours of this session, you should be getting a copy of the recording, also a copy of the deck as well. And I'd like to thank everybody for attending today. Scott, I'd like to thank you for a really strong presentation for our folks that have joined us here. We have about another almost 15 minutes remaining in the hour, so I'll invite everybody to go ahead and give that time back to you. But thanks again for attending, and thanks once again, Scott, for your participation. Thanks, guys.
Have a great afternoon. Thanks for having me.